You're listening to the Team Check-In, powered by Teamflect. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Team Check-In. I'm your host Emre, and with me today I have Emmanuel Gallis. So I hope I did your last name kind of normally. I try my best. This is not my strong suit. Emmanuel, how are you doing?
It was good. It was good. I'm good. Thank you very much, Emre, for inviting me to this show.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. And right now, this podcast, any friend of Microsoft is a friend of ours. When we have Teamflect is an official Microsoft partner, and we just love and embrace the Microsoft community. And speaking of the Microsoft community, Emmanuel, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, you might be surprised that I've not always been a Microsoftie. I mean, working on Microsoft technology, because right after my studies, I worked for 13 years on SAP. So I was an SAP developer and team manager until 2012. Where I was based in Paris at the time, and I was on a mission where on a project where there was another team working on SharePoint project, and by the time the mission ended, I was responsible of the developers team on the SharePoint side. So I totally switched technologies and started working on Microsoft technologies at that time. And since then, when in 2013 I moved to Toulouse, southwest of France, then I started working only on SharePoint and Microsoft technology. And then in 2018, I discovered Power Apps. And well, from July 2018 until today, I only worked on Power Apps full day, full time, because it's just fantastic. I love it.
All right. So I want to get to that switch from SAP to Power Apps, but before that, the reason I mentioned the whole friend of Microsoft thing, you are a Microsoft MVP, right? You are an MVP, and that is without even knowing the context. It just sounds incredibly cool, right? We don't have a lot of those going around, but can you tell us what it means to be an MVP? What does it stand for? And what comes with being an MVP?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you must know that you don't apply to become an MVP. The only way to become an MVP is that another MVP applies for you because he thinks that you masterize some business content or technology, and he thinks that you should earn that award. And so a few years ago, as I was very active in the community on Power Apps specifically, because I was sharing my knowledge, and that's the point of an MVP. Usually you become an MVP because people in the community see that you are really good at one or two services within the Power Platform or within Microsoft 365. And that's when they apply for you and they propose your name for being an MVP. And being an MVP, well, it's a lot of personal time because you need to produce content and publish it to the community and share your knowledge. And sharing with the community is really grateful because people like to take advantage of that knowledge. Also, it makes you a person of interest. maybe that's because I'm here today because you like to interview MVPs and you find this interesting, but you become a person of interest because being an MVP means you masterize something, and people know that asking questions to you about this technology, for instance, Power Apps, for me, they will have the good answer and a precise and good answer. It doesn't mean we are perfect. We make mistakes, but of course, making one mistake always stays in the mind of people. So you have to be careful also when you give some knowledge that make sure that it's correct. It also gives you opportunities. Just yesterday, a company contacted me because they wanted us to create content together because they have this fantastic product to manage and optimize Microsoft tenants. And so I will probably work with them to in that way. So you see, it also brings you some opportunities.
And is there a pressure to create content? And are you feeling a little, is it like, does it ever get too much? Oh, I need to create content. Like, this is something I like, but now it's turning into this obligation. So does it ever get tough?
Well, when you're not an MVP uh, and you are already well, there are maybe two kind of people. There are the ones who are just sharing their knowledge with the community and they like it, etc. And then, oh my God, I've been proposed to be an MVP and I become an MVP. That's fantastic. And maybe today there are more people since the MVP program is being well known all around the world. Maybe there are more people that are trying to become an MVP. So they maybe put a little bit of pressure on themselves to produce content so that maybe an MVP will propose them. But otherwise, no. But once you have had the MVP award, it is it lasts only for 1 year, and every year you are renewed for this award, and it all depends on the fact that you have produced content and continued to share it with the community during the past year. So once you have the MVP award, yes, it's true that you put a little bit of pressure on you because you still have to continue that process. Yeah.
And how has your interactions with the overall community felt? Like,
Very good. It's really I love it because people are really grateful. There is also how can I say that the 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 way that people talk together through the forums or the sites is very respectful, and people are very kind and gentle and polite, etc. So this is really good because we need that atmosphere to be motivated to continue sharing with others. And I really like this community aspect. Yeah.
so that's all very nice to hear because I was trying to fetch something. It's very nice to hear that you are getting some very supportive reactions from the community because whenever you're creating content, whenever you're putting things out, uh, you're essentially facing like the internet saying, "Hey, look, I made this. So what do you think?" And they're not very kind, but the community you're producing content for is usually more professional and more appreciative of the stuff you put out. Uh, I just want to share with you a piece of comment that I got on one of our Microsoft Teams video that I made like years ago. This was one of the first videos I made. We've since then remastered it, made new versions, but then some guy on the internet just hits me with, "Oh, the audio on this video is on a scale of 1 to 10. 1, it sounds like you're underwater. LOL." Like, it just hits me with that. You wake up, you pour your coffee, and then you just bam, you see that comment.
Well, I suppose it's part of the game. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I think that criticism can be constructive. It helps you make things better. Maybe now your sound is perfect because you
It,
worked on it. Yeah.
it is. It is. It's been nice. It's been good for a while. But that's
Right.
that's part of the game. you don't look back at all like the bad things you just left behind and created
Right, right.
long, long ago. And then sometimes someone just hits you with that. Oh, it's so out
Yeah.
of left.
No, generally speaking, people are really nice and they really appreciate the fact that you take on your personal time to share your knowledge.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's
So
globally really positive.
awesome. Awesome. So let's get a little nerdy and let's talk Power Apps.
Yeah,
Because from the outside looking in, the whole idea of, creating apps for work and for everything from scratch can be a bit intimidating. But at its essence, that's what Power Apps is trying to, it's trying to open a gateway for people saying, hey, you can make all the things you need and just create things according to your needs. So, can you tell us a bit about how you got into Power Apps and how anyone who's like not from a developer background can start interacting with it?
yeah. Well, as Microsoft has always said it, uh, Power Apps and all the services within the Power Platform are meant to be used by citizen developers.
Mhm,
Citizen developer is just anyone in a company that you know knows a bit about computers and Excel sheets and stuff like that, and that wants to create its own
mhm,
applications, its own Power Automate flows, etc. The thing is that it might be reluctant at the start because you have to understand the philosophy of the product, how it works,
mhm,
uh, and it doesn't. It the particular thing, specific thing with Power Apps is that you build your applications by just taking your controls and dropping them on your screen, and you take your buttons and your drop downs, etc. You just put them on the screen, and the human brain is made so that uh, you when you click on a button and you're on the event to trigger something, you think that from this button you can act on an external control and say, okay, when I click on this button, this drop down pops up. But it's
mhm,
not the way it works in Power Apps. You have to think upwards. You have to go on the control and
mhm,
uh, tell him how it will react when the button is clicked. You see, and this is
mhm,
what probably people who really just start using Power Apps have a hard time to understand. And and then, of course, you have a lot of functions that you have to learn,
mhm.
etc. And but I mean, the forums are here for that, and that's why the
Yeah.
community is really helpful, and people help each other to understand how it works and how to do this and this and this. But I understand that sometimes maybe first timers are really
Mhm,
yeah, the first time I started, I really struggled maybe for I don't know, maybe 1 month or two until I got the mechanics and understood how it really works. And then I was just also sharing the my knowledge with the
yeah.
community.
What was the first thing you built with it?
The first time I built with it was a SharePoint list form that
Mhm,
I customized for a client who wanted to put up a system to manage hiring people. And at that time, I built the list. Everything was working fine with the list, and they could see all the people coming in the company, etc., and manage it. But the native SharePoint form was really um, uh, had too little
mhm,
features, and so I discovered that with Power Apps you could customize these forms, and then it was just, I mean, open bar. We could just do whatever we wanted on the form, and maybe I went too far on this one when I think about it, because then the form became really complex.
uh,
And
yeah.
of course, that's one of the the mistake that you make when you you start using Power Apps.
Yeah, right. Mona Lisa's done. Put the brush down at some point. At
Yes,
some point, yeah. The over
exactly.
engineering part, it's such a thing. It's such a huge thing. We were like, at some point, my colleague and I, who's like my lead, we were trying to build this content calendar for us, and it's so I said, okay, let's have, the type of content. Is it going to be a blog post? Is it going to be a video? And then we said, ooh, is it going to be a how-to video? Is it going to be a listicle? And then we started branching everything
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
And then this Excel spreadsheet turned into this monstrosity. And then we said, okay, now how are we going to walk the interns through this? It's just
Right.
it just became too much. But it's such a thing when you're building on something and just ooh, let me just add this functionality, and especially when now you have a tool like Power Apps in front of you, so you just go, ooh, let me just add this. What if we also do this? And then it just grows and grows, and it takes a life of its own. And so, I mean, you are the quote unquote the Power Apps Jedi Master. Am I wrong? That's the title we're going with.
The Power Apps Canvas Applications Master.
All right, all right. So,
Yes.
um, when you're working with organizations, how do you approach identifying like business problems and their needs that Power Apps can solve?
Well, I like to be faced to a problem with a client.
Mm-hmm,
I like to understand their need right at the beginning. Maybe understand how they're. I think what's very important is to fully and clearly understand how the current process is working in the company, so
mm-hmm,
that you know which are the on which specific points you will have to focus. Maybe others you will have to eliminate, etc. So you really need to understand exactly how it works in the company at the
mm-hmm,
time you arrive, and then building the solution. While you are building the solution, I think it's very important as well to include the end users in your work,
mm-hmm,
uh, because during that stage, including the end users, will allow you to change course extremely fast if the end users think that you're not going on the good course, on the right course.
mm-hmm,
And this is very important because um, years and years ago, when you would develop applications, you would develop it from A to B. And then once
mm-hmm,
you finish developing the application, you give it to the customer and he tests it. And then he says, that's not what I wanted. Okay, this is good, but this is not what I wanted, etc. While here, in kind of an agile way of working, you have the end users with you working and seeing the step by step how the application grows, and rectifying, correcting
mm-hmm.
your course if it's not good. So I think this is very, very important. And then
Yeah,
of course it really eases the testing phase, because they have seen your application evolving in the time.
yeah. At the end of the day, they'll be the ones who are going to end up using it day in and day
Exactly.
out. So yeah, getting their input in the whole process, it just seems logical.
Yep.
And so, you talked about a testing phase and then the initial discussion phase. So, can you walk us through, uh, like all the step by step of meeting a company, meeting a client, identifying the problems, and then like what are the phases? How does the entire process go?
Yeah, well, okay. The first phase is asking the client to walk you through the actual process that they asked you to digitalize. Okay, so you need to understand exactly, that's what I was saying,
Mm-hmm,
how their process is working, which documents they're using. Are they sending the documents by mail or putting them into a Teams
mm-hmm,
site at the moment, or in a SharePoint site, etc., etc. Understand how it works. Once you've done this, you need to understand exactly what their goal is. That's the second step. What do you want to digitalize? Is it the whole process, only part of it? For which users? What kind of end users will use the application, etc. And then at that step, you start to feel which roles you will have to set up, etc. And of course,
and
during all these steps, you need to make some schematics, to
mhm,
summarize, yeah,
mhm.
the process. Yeah.
And right here is, I think this is something that anyone who offers a certain service to an organization to cover their needs or their goals to help them achieve these. I think this is where like anyone faces this, but are there any instances where you're talking to someone and they say, okay, we need these processes digitized and we need them done this sort of way because we're facing these issues and we have these goals? Are there moments, without naming any names, obviously, are there moments where you go, oh no, that's not what you need. You don't need this. You need something else. You haven't identified the needs properly. Or, no, this has to go a different way. You're approaching this all wrong, and let's just take this into another direction.
Yeah, the fact is at that step, I really insist to on the client that the client is not supposed to talk about solutions. He's supposed to talk about his problems. I'm the one who finds the solutions and
Yeah.
propose the solution to him, and then we can discuss the variations on this solution. But I'm the one who knows how the services in the platform can be
Mm-hmm.
used and combined to produce a nice solution to his problem, but he's supposed to talk only about his problem. That's very important because
And is that a fun
sometimes
conversation to have?
yeah, of course. Well, sometimes it happens that the client is coming with a solution already,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time, well, if I don't feel it, I don't hesitate to tell him, I don't think you're going on the right direction. You should mostly go this direction, work this way. This approach is not the good one because I have the big picture
Mm-hmm.
using all the bricks. I know which bricks I will use to produce the solution. So that's very important. Yeah.
And have there ever been instances where, have there ever been instances of, I told you so? Like, has it ever gone there?
Um, it could have, honestly, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe at that time I wasn't myself uh, sufficiently aware of where we were going. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really relying on the person who's building the solution. Maybe I didn't know the
Mm-hmm.
components of the platform well enough to uh, to uh, to anticipate that the solution would be too poor on performances or things like that, you see. So
Yeah.
it
I,
comes with time and experience, of course.
of course, of course. I was talking about like an I told you so moment coming from you to the client saying, yeah, I told, see, like,
Yes, of course it happens. Yes, of
yeah.
course, because clients
Because
can be stubborn sometimes.
yeah, there are moments when we all just give up. Fine, I'll give you what you want, but
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So, we have the initial, let's talk with the client about their needs phase, and then we determine everything. And then what are the next steps?
Then the next step, the third step is I work on my own. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
the client anymore. I have all I need to know. I know what is his problem. I know
Mm-hmm.
where he wants to go. I have all the type of users that will interact with the application. I anticipate the roles that we'll need to set up, etc. And then I build the solution. So I work on my own. Well, of course, I
Mm-hmm.
still interact with the client, asking questions for precisions, etc. But I work on my own to build the solution, and I imagine the solution.
Mm-hmm.
I design it, and I decide which components I will use. Okay, so there will be this application here that will be a
Mm-hmm.
canvas application for the end user interface. There will be a model-driven application to manage the back end. There will be these flows that will run, maybe an AI model here that will interact, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
virtual agent here, etc., etc. And you set up the bricks together, and then that's the phase where you really design the solution. And then,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we have I'm assuming we have all the feedback and from the client and the testing process.
Sorry about that.
No, 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 no. All good, all good. I'm very happy whenever we have a dog on screen. Mine, mine is sleeping to the
It's right
side.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just sleeping to the side. whenever we have a guest on the podcast, I hide all the squeaky toys.
Right.
Just yeah, just yeah, he doesn't know where like the little bear is. He's not gonna get it anytime soon. Yeah. Uh, so, all right. So, got it. See, whenever I see a dog, I space out. Now I just
Right.
want to ask you dog questions. It's the
Right.
let's just say the Power App friendly. What's her name? How long
Yeah,
have you
yeah,
had
yeah.
it? That's just what comes to me.
Yeah.
And
So
so
this
do
third phase is
uh-huh.
really a work you do on your side, you
Hmm.
see.
Yeah,
Still interacting with the customer, but
yeah. And how do you go on balancing, functionality with aesthetics when designing the app?
yeah. There are many technique. Well, UX and UI design
Hmm.
is not my main um, well, it's not my
Forte?
special. Yeah, it's not
Uh-huh.
my specialty. Okay,
Hmm.
but I have had some colleagues in a previous company that taught me how you could use some methods
Hmm.
to build up an interface, including your end users. And there are different techniques that you can use to do that. But what you have to remember is that the fact that including your end users at
Hmm.
that step when you design the screens
Hmm.
is very important because you can uh, kind of test the application
Hmm.
with them just on paper. You haven't done any development yet, but just on a paper, you can test their ability of their sensitivity to the screens, etc. Okay, I think yeah, it might be interesting to do it this way. Can we do this, etc. Like navigation might not be
Hmm.
really practical for them when they see it on the paper. So maybe they will ask for some changes, etc. So designing the screens is really being done also with the end users.
Right. And now you must have worked with like so many different organizations in different fields, but are there some common issues that everyone wants automated? Like what's the most common problem people need solved with Power Apps?
Um, the most problem I think I faced was replacing uh, um, uh, Excel or Word
Yep.
documents filled up by many people sending each other the documents through emails, and they don't know which is the last version, where it is, etc. I think this that Power Apps, for instance, is a perfect tool to replace this kind of habits that used to exist in the companies. And
Hmm.
I think that this is precisely where you would find some shadow IT as well, because people would
Hmm.
put these documents on a Google Drive outside the company when there are maybe sensitive information in those documents.
Hmm.
So bringing back the users within the platform using Power Apps to replace those documents. You have one place to get the data, to update it, etc. I think this is the most common problem that Power Apps solves in the companies.
I think just regardless of industry, the amount of times I've seen people using Excel or Word documents for things that they should not be used for is beyond counting. And in my experience in our field, we see people using Excel spreadsheets and Word templates a lot for their performance appraisals, for performance reviews, right? Performance
Yep.
appraisals get a terrible reputation because it's usually this chunky Excel document that you have to fill, and it's clunky for the people being reviewed, and it's very clunky for the people reviewing those performance
Yep.
reviews because it's the spreadsheet and it's all. And I mean, then it's very hard to integrate and do it all in Microsoft Teams. in one place. And if you want to automate your performance review processes inside Microsoft Teams or Outlook and get rid of all those Excel spreadsheets and Word documents, then you should give the best performance review software in the Microsoft ecosystem, Teamflect, a try. With an extensive library of customizable performance review templates readily available to you, you can now go to the Microsoft Teams App Store, look for Teamflect, and try Teamflect for free today. See, this is also part of my job. This is just. I talk about this a lot on the podcast, but whenever something comes up and I get the opportunity to just, ooh, this is it. This is the plug. This is where we bring Teamflect in. And there's a spark in my eye, and you can just pinpoint it. But it's really interesting that replacing Excel spreadsheets and Word documents is just such a common issue across multiple different areas.
Yep. And unfortunately, I think that, to my opinion, there is a lot of work, time, and money lost because so many companies develop the same applications for the same needs.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been thinking for a while about building up a platform where the community would create applications gathering the needs for various companies and clients to make those applications so flexible that every company could take this unique application and customize it to its needs, but stop from thousands of companies building the same app with so many different people and spending so much time and money for this. And
I totally get it. I mean, one of the I think I spend a lot of time talking to clients and people using people who run remote teams across Microsoft Teams and have used tons of applications. And especially with everyone switching to remote work and with the whole era of digital transformation, the one issue that people face a lot is, I need an app for everything. I need a separate app for this. There's a separate app for that. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's have this from here. Let's have that from here. And then, there's a scale. And then it just starts tipping to the other side of productive. Oh, we're running back and forth between too many platforms.
That's just true. I agree.
Yes, it's good. And whenever you're picking out these applications, we have some pretty sleazy salesmen out there. We have some incredible salespeople out there.
Yeah.
And they will sell you on, no, you need this. You have that, yes, but you also need this. And suddenly you're just surrounded with all these different applications. And the whole reason we built Teamflect inside Microsoft Teams and just having it all in there is, we didn't want to, we said, okay, Teams is a great platform. We love Microsoft Teams. Let's just stay in it. Why do we have to keep running back and forth between it? Why can't we just send each other these thumbs up and recognitions right in there? And and now we have for a long time now, we have Copilot in the discussion, right? And Copilot, the whole AI side of Power Apps and designing apps, it's something else. And how intuitive do you think it is right now inside Power Apps? Because if you look at it from the outside, and if you look at all the marketing material and everything, you can see, I'll just type, hey, I need an app that does this, that looks like this, make it, and then it's done. That's how it looks from the outside. But how intuitive is it really?
Well, you might be surprised by my answer because it can the way that the AI has erupted in Power Apps, for instance, kind of course it looks magical, really.
Yeah.
You just talk to a machine and it produces exactly something close to the app that you wanted to produce without any effort. And that's where I see the problem, is that you haven't done any effort to produce something where your brain did not function at all to produce it. You see what I mean? And where I'm
You
going?
were not involved in the design process.
Yes, exactly, of course. And I think that all this, the path that you have to go through to understand how Power Apps works, how to use the functions inside it, etc. You need to go through that path, because once the AI will have produced your application, when you will edit it using the studio, once you're in the studio, well, that's not exactly what I wanted. How do I correct it? How do I
Yeah.
fix it? I
Yeah.
don't know, because I've not made the app myself. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I'm a bit reluctant with AI at the moment. I think it can serve us for many things, but I think we should pay attention that it doesn't replace the work we're supposed to do ourselves too much.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And for those listening, we were talking about this before the show, and I absolutely love Emmanuel's attitude on this, right? I said, "Hey, we can talk about this. We can discuss AI."
Yeah,
And very perfectly, Emmanuel said, "Hey, I'm not 100% on it, so I don't want to like start shooting my opinions, but I think that is the stance to have. That is the stance to have right now, because wherever you look in the discussion of AI today, you are faced with video essays and everything, and one side is going AI is horseshit, and the other is going no, it's like it's the thing. It's
yeah,
how are we so sure? How are we so sure? And I don't want to be the AI agnostic here. It's not, the fence is not a comfortable place to be sitting on, definitely.
yeah,
But again, there are so many different nuances to the discussion. There is the ease of application, right? It does simplify processes a lot, but what do you lose in the process of
yeah, exactly.
simplifying everything? Sure, you made something like that, but now you are not 100% certain on how that thing works, and now you are not going to be able to make those custom tweaks and the
Yep,
necessary changes, and then it's going to cause you issues down the line, right?
right.
It's, I mean, I almost compare it to, okay, it's going to sound a little unrelated, but do you know who I am very jealous of? You know how sometimes people just pull off in the gas station and they both have great cars. One like person goes to the other, hey, what is that running? It's like a G694 engine, and I revved it up with this and this and this. And the other guy goes, ooh, yeah, you should. When two people they know their cars so well, and they can talk to each other about it,
Yep,
and they can exchange information. I
yep,
go, God, those are really cool. And then those two same people, if their car breaks down in the middle of the road, they can pop the hood and make the necessary tweaks, and they go,
right.
yep, all good. And if they ever need a repairman, that repairman is not going to be able to talk to them into features that they didn't know they needed. Right? So it's all about when you have the ability to get things done like that, then you lose the expertise you gained
Exactly.
throughout the entire process. And I don't know which one is more, maybe to some people the whole like instantaneous nature is more valuable, but in the long run, I feel like what we're losing might be a bit too valuable to lose.
Yeah, yeah. I have an example to give as well. A few weeks ago, I built 2 years ago. I built this forum online called ppfc.fr, per platform
Mm-hmm.
French community, for the French-speaking people, because all the forums were in English, and well,
Mm-hmm.
French-speaking people were kind of felt like left aside, And so
Mm-hmm.
this platform allows people to interact about the Power Platform and help each other. And once there was this guy who asked me a question about how can I connect two drop downs together,
Mm-hmm.
etc., etc. And I was about to give him the answer, etc., testing it on my side first. But then he answered and said, "Oh, it's okay. I just asked ChatGPT. I have the answer. Thanks." I said, "Oh my God, then I'm not of use anymore. I mean,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
what am I here for then? I mean, if ChatGPT answers for people's questions and technical problems on Power Apps or anything else, then we don't need any more the forums. We don't need human interactions anymore because people interact with the machine and the machine gives us the answers. So I really think there's a problem there, and
Yeah.
we should
I think
just pay attention and be careful using this
yeah,
kind of
exactly. I
technology.
get it. And the thing is, the next time that person needs a question with more nuance that needs to be
Yeah,
answered, then yeah, it's not going to help. I mean, sure,
yeah,
simple directions. I mean, I feel like someone with your expertise, I think it's you're kind of wasted on answering like the simple I just drag this and put it there. I think that's your experience and your know-how is wasted on questions like that. And it's so awesome about you that you are not above answering those questions.
no,
That speaks
of course.
volumes. That speaks volumes to your character.
Yeah,
But sure, automating that side, automating the simple, oh yeah, just click to the click file and then go to the options and then click here. Sure, let's auto.
yep,
We can do without answering those questions. But next time, the real questions of like, ooh, identifying core issues and how do we tweak these? How do we make the necessary changes according to people's
yeah,
needs? That side, that side should remain human. That is what
of course. Yeah,
sets us apart.
I totally
Uh,
agree. Yeah.
yeah. And one last thing to wrap this up, I will be letting you go soon. Oh my God, there's the puppy again in the
Here it is
back.
again.
Yeah, here it is again. So, what's her or his name?
He's Oslo.
Oslo. Okay.
Yeah, like
All
the
right.
town because he's got these icy blue eyes, you know.
Oh, that that's awesome. That's awesome. I have a Jack Russell named Jack
Uh-huh.
because
Okay. Oh well.
so not very
No.
not very
Okay.
creative. I
Yeah.
found him just hanging out at the beach, and I thought it was someone else's dog. So I didn't know
Okay.
his name, so I just go, "Ah, look, there's Jack again," because he was a Jack Russell. And then I
Yeah.
found out that he was like left there by some people.
Okay.
So I picked him up. Okay, I guess you're coming with me. And then I
Yeah.
said, "Oh no, I spent the entire day calling you Jack. Now I don't know what else to call you."
Yeah.
And
Okay.
now I'm
Well.
the guy with a Jack Russell named Jack. That's just,
That's funny.
you know,
Yeah.
and I see this every day when I'm like walking him and like some, kid walks up to pet the dog and her mom like, "Oh,
Right.
what's his name?" And then I go, "His name is Jack." And people go, "Ah, because he's a Jack Russell." Wow,
Right.
great. You definitely must be working in a creative field.
Exactly. What
Okay,
imagination.
so again, bringing this all back, uh, how do you see Power Apps evolving and changing in the next few years?
Well, I think that we've seen an incredible improvement very
Mm-hmm,
recently with your co-authoring on
mm-hmm,
making applications.
mm-hmm,
I think this was really a feature that a lot of makers were waiting for because working alone on an application, well, while you make small applications, it's okay, but as soon as your applications begin to be a little bit bigger, then working in teams with many other makers together at the same time on the same
mm-hmm,
application is really helpful, and you really cut the time by many. Um, um, in the future, I suppose that Copilot will have more and more presence to help makers accelerate the building of their applications. I suppose that you will almost have human interaction with
mm-hmm,
Copilot saying, okay, can you add a screen here and move this button over here, etc. And unfortunately, again, Copilot will probably do most of the job and we'll just be probably speaking out loud
mm-hmm.
with the AI so that he does what we want, etc. It really looks like this movie with what's its name again? Well, I don't remember, with Tom Cruise, where it was very futuristic and he took these applications and
Are
Windows
we
moving
talking
them with it.
Minority Report? Are we
Yes,
talking
exactly. Yeah,
Minority
right.
Report? There it is. Love that film. I think that movie introduced touchscreens to people.
Yes, of course.
But
And
I think someone
yeah,
pointed it out that the UI on those like high-tech computers on Minority Report, I think this might even have been like a college humor joke, but if you see the people actually working and sliding those screens around, it's very unintuitive. It just looks very
yeah,
cool.
I
But the whole
suppose.
thing about
Yeah.
like I don't want to be doing this.
Of course.
All the time. Okay, oh man, I can nerd out with you about Minority Report and all the other sci-fi stuff some other day.
Yeah, sure.
Emmanuel, thanks for coming on the show. Where can
Yeah.
people find you? Where can people reach you?
Mostly on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's really where I'm very active. I also have a Twitter account, called Redcap. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
written here on
Oh,
yeah, right
nice.
there. And otherwise, yeah, really on LinkedIn, people can really interact with me. That's where I create most of my content. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll be
Awesome.
glad
And
to
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we went over how you're interacting with the community all the time. So, yeah, just shoot him a question. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts, leave us a like, subscribe. It really helps the show out. And if you want to try the best performance management software for Microsoft Teams, you can always click the link in the description and schedule a free demo. And this has been the Team Check-In. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.